Hello and welcome back. This is Conversation Artificial Intelligence. This is Paolo and it's an honor to have you here today. So today we're going to go into something that is extremely interesting, and it's this very concept that one single intelligence can power different products. And we're going to talk about products that run from medical monitoring from a distance, something that can save the life of children, all the way to preventing bad people to smuggle their cell phones or any other form of prohibited items into jails. We're also going to go on military applications such as anti-terror applications and first responder applications. So the same artificial intelligence technology can power multiple applications. With me today, we have Nir Regev and Guy Regev, who work with Aleph Zero out of Los Angeles. How are you guys today?
Good. We're good. How are you, Paolo? Thank you for having us.
I'm very good. Thank you for being here as well. So guys, how did you stumble upon artificial intelligence?
So we were doing, especially Nir, that's his background. He was doing algorithms, and obviously artificial intelligence being a part of a more broader umbrella called algorithm design. So he was doing algorithm design for the last over 22 years, about 22 years, started in the Israeli military actually, and all the way up to now. And artificial intelligence, especially deep learning, has become more and more prevalent and popular ever since computing about 5, 6, 7 years ago. Computers started being more robust, so to speak, and deep learning and other very computational intensive forms of artificial intelligence became more popular. So this is how we got into it. Basically, computer enabled us to start using other forms of artificial intelligence that weren't available to us before, just because computers weren't strong enough to carry it.
So Nir, you have an interesting story out there. So you started working on secret projects in the Israeli army. How did you go from working in the military to the R&D in the civil space?
So in Israel, everyone has to serve in the army. It's mandatory. I was in a special program in which instead of going to the army, you go to get your engineering degree, and then you come back to the army for 6 years as an officer. And that's what I did. And I started working on very interesting projects. And this is the first time I was actually exposed to the problem of classification of targets. And, for military targets, you can imagine what kind of targets I'm talking about. But if you are, let's say, if you are using a camera or a radar, doesn't really matter, and the camera or the radar or the sensor is sensing something in a 3D space, you need to know what it is. So, for example, you need to know if it's a malicious drone or it's a bird. You need to know if that's an airplane or a missile flying in the air. From day one, I was basically exposed to these kind of classification problems, which translate in terms of technically translating into artificial intelligence problem. And then after 6 years, I got into the industry, and actually the transition was very, very smooth. The industry have the same type of problems, not military grade maybe, but still. The industry has to track targets and identify faces and identify targets. And that's where I find myself working for Intel in the perceptual computing group for a radar company called RADA, which built a military grade radar until we founded Aleph Zero about 2 years ago.
So for our audience, basically, just let's summarize here what we're talking about. We're talking about the ability to identifying objects, and back in the army time, there was the ability to distinguish between an enemy and something that is not a threat. Now today there are instead a lot of other applications, including the ability to detect movement. And you have sort of developed a new paradigm, a new technologies that combines the technology from radar with the machine learning. What are the reasons that led to do research in this sector that was not possible before?
The radar as it is like traditional type of radar is, as you said, signal processing. So I would say it's type of 3-layer approach. The first layer is detection. detecting the target. Detecting the target is a signal processing problem, a statistical signal processing problem, in which you estimate parameters. First, you detect if there is a target, and then you estimate parameters of the targets. For example, velocity, range, azimuth, and elevation. So basically, you say where is the target in 3D space? That's detection. And then you have tracking. The target is moving through space, and you have to track it through space and gather statistics on the target. That's called the tracking layer. And then on top of that, you have the classification layer, which until the recent years of AI/deep learning innovation was lacking a bit in various aspects. And that's where the beautiful AI innovation and radar signal processing is coupling together to produce a whole 3-layered solution to the target detection, tracking, and classification problem.
I think just to add on top of what Nir said, it's basically enabling us to take a sense. It's like a sense. The radar is like a sense. It's not like a video camera. It's not like a picture that you see with your eyes, but it's a form of a sense. Like bats, for example, they see with sonar, with something that is very similar to how radar works. So basically, what deep learning enabled us to do is basically create perception from something that before was just a bunch of numbers, of signals. So now we can actually create perception and actually have the machine understand than used to be possible at all. So basically now we can take a radar, which is not an image. A human cannot look at the radar output and understand logically what's going on, and basically have the machine brain basically make sense of it all and create an image that is actionable. For example, is the object that is flying there is a bird or a drone or an airplane? Just an example. If it's a drone, what type of a drone is it? How many propellers? How big the drone is? It can actually make sense, make more sense of the environment.
So basically what we are finding out here is that the role of machine learning in this type of applications is basically telling you what it is, the object that you have detected, and what it is in relationship to the environment as well, and giving you some more details. This was not possible to be done before because the output of the signal processing layer was not, there was no technology that could analyze it with this level of granularity. Can you perhaps give us an example of what was possible before? I believe in like 10 years ago, it was possible to determine whether an airplane was a military airplane or not.
So think about what you see in the movies when there's a radar, when there's like the flight control room, and they have a radar pointing to the sky and they see all the planes on a map. So that's what basically was possible. You see a blob, a dot on a map, and it tells you the distance to the airplane. That's basically it, and you assume it's an airplane because what else can be so big and traveling in the sky? But it's not that the machine tells you it's an airplane. The machine doesn't. You just assume it's an airplane.
So, but now with this technology that you two have developed and it's been applied in a number of different industries, now it's possible to use this combination of radar technology and artificial intelligence for, if you like, a number of different benefits. So one of which that I was particularly interested in is this medical application and remote sensing. So what problem can this technology solve in the medical space? What is the problem that today people cannot solve?
So the problem, first of all, is to remotely sense, and the key here is remote, without touching the patient. Remotely sense vital signs, for example. So I'm breathing now, my heart is pounding. If I want to monitor it, I need to put a pulse oximeter on me, for example, or a heart rate monitor that is touching my body. If I want to monitor my respiration, for example, which is very important when you sleep, I can't do it. There's no device that I can do it besides a strap that could go over your abdomen and basically measures how many times a minute your chest goes up and down. So this is the kind of problems we've been working on since we started, even before we started Aleph Zero. And basically right now we have a product that remotely measures respiration. I can put a device on your desk right now, or even farther away than your desk, without touching you. Put it somewhere on the wall of your room, and it will immediately track your breathing. So I think there's a few answers to your question. One is infants, for infants. The other one is for elderly care. And the third one is for sleep analysis, basically diagnosing problems like sleep apnea. That is almost impossible to diagnose with kids, because in order to diagnose sleep apnea right now, for example, sleep apnea is the problem when a person that is sleeping stops breathing for over 10 seconds because the airway collapses. And there's other reasons for that as well. Basically, what happens is it destroys your sleep, because when you stop breathing, your body wakes you up automatically. It jerks you into awakeness, so you won't die. A lot of people that suffer from sleep apnea, and many kids too, that go undiagnosed and have development issues, like they grow the developmental, it can cause ADHD, other things like that, concentration issues. You feel tired during the day because you micro wake up like 100 times a night, or 200 times a night, or 300 times a night. And our innovation here is basically we have a monitor that tracks your breathing and your respiration and your heart rate while you're asleep. Yeah. Another example is to battle the case, the phenomenon of SIDS, which is sudden infant death syndrome, which basically there's unexplainable death in infants, in newborns. Basically, the newborn goes to sleep and never wakes up, and the medical authorities don't know why it happens or how it happens or whatever it happens. But what they do know, in the cases in which the parents were lucky enough to be in the baby's room when it happened, when the baby stopped breathing, they were able to jerk the baby back into life. So if you take the baby and you gently like wake him up, they will wake up. So, but most of the times it's a catastrophe, because it goes undetected. You walk to your baby's crib in the morning, and the baby, God forbid, is no longer alive, and that's a extreme catastrophe. It happens to about 100 babies from out of every 100,000 babies will get that, and that's something that we think can be even minimized further by using technologies like that, basically to monitor your sleep and alert the parent if the baby stopped breathing, for example.
So, when we look at the medical applications, one of the things that is important is how dependable are these technologies. So what is the degree of precision, if you like, dependability? Can you talk, maybe Nir, can you talk about how dependable and precise are these technologies today? Can we actually utilize them?
These technologies today are non-existent. Basically, you won't find it in hospitals or in nurseries or in kids' rooms. But the accuracy of these devices are basically benchmarked against FDA-approved type of devices. So, for example, if I want to test how my radar device is estimating my heart rate, I will put a FDA-approved heart rate monitor on myself, and I will test them against each other. And from our experiments right now, we are talking about 2 BPMs, 2 beats per minute accuracy in terms of maximum deviation from the FDA-approved apparatus.
So if you had to compare this with an instrument that goes onto the body, that instrument likely never fails or hardly fails. Right. What is the failure rate of your system compared to this other one?
When the radar is basically illuminating the subject, we need the subject to stay still. And that is, in most of the cases, not correct. When something is on your body, you don't have to sit still. But our AI algorithms are able to actually mitigate this problem and continuously monitor heart rate and breathing throughout, eliminating the sudden movement, and continuing from there very, very fast. So that's one drawback that we have accounted for in our algorithms. The other drawback is that the actual accuracy, as you mentioned. In terms of accuracy, we are almost as very, very close to FDA-approved type of apparatuses that are you put on your body.
Now, this is the first class of medical problems that you're working on. So basically, detecting apnea, detecting anomalies in the sleep of children, some of the elderly, maybe detecting if there is something wrong. But 5 years from now, could we think that technologies like this could be, for example, mounted into a car to detect if something is happening to a person, or if, let's say, during a car accident, the person is still alive, or what type of problem the person has?
So this is going to go into cars for sure, because there's actually, it started in Europe and it's coming to the US as well. There's actually legislation that basically will force, I think it's by 2020 or 2021, all the car makers that want their security, their safety grading to be as high as it is right now, to put at least drivers to monitor the driver for heart rate and respiration. So vital signs for the driver. And obviously you can't put the, strap machines on the driver every time the driver goes into the car and start driving. So you need to do it remotely. So yeah, solutions like that will be very prevalent in 5 to 10 years. They will be in all the cars. I think they will also be in hospitals. They will be in people's homes. I just read that there's a device that measures, that can basically, you can do a blood test at home right now. You can buy a device that hooks into your phone, and you can have your blood test done at home for certain things. So this is bound to happen. It has to happen. Everybody will have these kind of devices around their home 5 to 10 years for sure.
If we look, we have looked at applications of this medical, if you like, medical remote monitoring in 3 different areas. One is the exquisite medical monitoring, which I would envision as a certain price point, which is higher, because usually in the medical space, we are already prepared to spend more. Then we looked into other applications slightly different, like putting this in the house as one of the smart home devices. And then we also even thought of putting this in the car. Now, when you put it in the car, especially mass production cars, cost becomes a factor. Where do you think the cost of these devices will be, if you have any sense? I know that you work on the core technology.
These are similar costs. For example, the radar is between $10 and $20 a chip. So that's what people are going to pay for, just for the radar, not for the intelligence, just for the sensor itself. So the entire cost of the thing will probably be in a few hundred of bucks for car makers. It's almost negligible compared to the kind of machinery and things that they put on the cars now, like lidars, that cost tens of thousands of dollars.
And now I want to look into a totally different field of application, and I call it the Super Bowl. I discovered, talking to Nir and Guy, that basically there are people that use drones to go over the sport event and kind of videotape it and resell or watch it for free. So what it is that this technology does in these particular cases?
Let's say that the user is flying a drone over the arena and he's want to photograph the game, and that's not allowed, obviously, and the authorities, the game authorities don't want this to happen. So they can use you can use these kind of smart devices and basically detect whether this drone is a friendly drone, which means maybe the sports arena has drones also flying and recording the event, which is okay. But whether it's a friendly drone or a drone that isn't supposed to be there, and then you can basically take over the drone and get rid of it. So if it's exactly the same drone, then you can detect that you need another input. Like, for example, your drone is emitting a certain form of scrambling code or certain form of code, identification code, that basically identifies the drone as a friendly. But we can definitely tell, for example, if let's say you're using a drone of a certain type and someone else is using a drone of another type, we can definitely tell between those using the radar only. That's something we're doing right now, actually. So this is the secret sauce lies in what Nir explained before, the chain of signal processing that is leading to perception, and then the AI or deep learning, the artificial intelligence layer that is coming on top and does the perception for us. So the perception engine basically tells us what type of drone it sees. And obviously this perception engine is very, very minutely and carefully architected by us, by our engineers, in order to give us the information that we want as quickly and as efficiently, as accurately as possible.
And obviously, there are a number of other sectors where people are interested in applying this technology in terms of detecting drones. So we were discussing before things like the industry, the military. Maybe you can just cover where the broader space of applications that involve drones.
You think about the radar, you think about a airspace defense. Now, airspace defense is something that has been done with the radar for tens of years now. Not to this minute granularity of detecting which kind of drone and the size of the drone and so on, but protecting airspaces is a very vast application that are using radar for. And you can imagine that a drone can be maliciously used or utilized for assassinating someone. So you want to protect VIPs. Let's say, for example, VIPs that is giving a speech somewhere. You want to protect the airspace around him or her. You want to protect the airspace around, buildings like, for example, the White House or even industrial type of factories. You want to protect an airspace around prisons. So there won't be smuggling, they won't use drones to smuggle stuff in and out of the prison. So basically every airspace protection that you can think of are called for detecting a drone, differentiating between a drone and other type of flying objects, for example, a bird. And this is used to be a very, very tough problem. It still is. And then telling more information about this drone, for example, the physical characteristics of the drone and so on.
So this is very, I would say, surprising the level of precision that this technology is reaching, and also how artificial intelligence is playing a role in industries, if you like, or domains where before it was not even present. And just to stay with one last thing here on this sector, it is a little bit funny, if you like, and peculiar that drones are already used to smuggle stuff in and out of prisons. So how did you come up with this, knowing this problem? Did any one of your customers or in your network point it out and reach out to you about this?
Yeah, so a number of our customers and customers of our customers are facing this problem. It happens all the time. They use it to smuggle drugs, money, cell phones, other types of currencies that are used inside prisons. And yes, so because the prison basically has walls, but the airspace is not protected. They never had to protect the airspace. But now anybody can buy a drone, hook up a cell phone onto it, and land it inside a prison. It's easy. There's also a lot of private facilities, like manufacturing facilities, that want their airspace to be very, very tightly secured. And they're looking into these kind of solutions as well.
As our interview goes towards an end, I'd like to open a third and last area of applications that, if you like, is a little bit similar to kind of a social good applications. And basically, we discussed that you are exploring the application of the technology to first responders situations or even counter-terror situations. So can you tell us a couple of things? One, how is your technology helping to solve this problem? Two, what is the degree of, reliability that the technology has reached in this area?
One is the ability to see through objects or through walls. Basically, when you aim a radar at a wall, the radio waves are going to go through the wall. And powered by AI algorithms, machine learning algorithms, you can actually make sense of what you're seeing inside the volume of the room that your eyes can't see into because of the wall, obviously. Think about a counter-terrorist situation in which a terrorist has hostages and is barricaded himself inside a room with hostages inside. And the hostages are sitting down and the terrorist is walking back and forth in the room. You can basically, right now, you need to what they call get eyes in the room and see where the terrorist is, so you can design the attack so the hostages are going to be saved and not hurt, and only the terrorist is going to be hurt. So using this technology, radar technology, powered by our artificial intelligence algorithms and engines, you can actually see in the room. You can point the radar in the room and you can see someone walking around and the rest of the people sitting down. And you can actually also, in the future, you will be able to even take their heart rate and respiration rate through the wall. So this is one application. The other one is what you mentioned. For example, a person is trapped in a collapsed building after an earthquake, and a lot of it happens a lot all over the world that people are trapped, and the first responders and the rescue authorities, they're trying to find them and save them. So using this kind of technology, you can actually find signs of life, like vital signs, buried in the rubble, so to speak, and know where to dig and where to clear the rubble and save the person or people that are trapped.
So if we look at the case of first responder, sometimes the building collapse can be very large, and the person can be very much in. Can the technology detect the situation, like, or if you like, what are the limits to that type of detection?
The limits are currently under investigation. So the research community we know that it can be done for some extent, but we didn't really quantify it yet in actual real situation. So the RF wave will penetrate rubble. To what degree that's something that has to be quantified and experimented on.
So for example, if it is a small house that collapsed, can you reliably find out where people are in the collapsed structure?
Under some circumstances, yes, but it doesn't work like that. So for example, if the house is collapsed, people are starting, like first responders are starting to move stuff around. So you move stuff around and you aim the sensor. You move stuff around and you aim the sensor. And it's very directional and it's very high power. So you can actually penetrate even multiple layers of concrete, if you will.
In the situation of, the terror attack, what if it is a large building? And I'm trying to understand, how does this really become a reality? Because could be some level of technical difficulty in implementing it.
If there's a lot of layers of rooms between you and the perpetrator, then your problem becomes harder in any way. And you need to somehow find a way to close the distance in order to get visibility closer. The thing about the radar is that you're able to get visibility. What it gives you, the power of the radio frequency or the radar, is that it gives you the ability to gain visibility way before you could have previously. Before you needed to put like IR, fiber optics cameras from the venting ducts or from holes in the wall, stuff like that, in order to see in the room. Now you don't have to. You can stand on the other side of the wall, or even a few walls, obviously not 100 walls, but even a few walls, and relatively well see inside.
One very last question here is, we have gone over 3 very interesting field of applications. So medical sensing, for example, saving the life of infants that during their sleep. We have gone through drone detection in a variety of commercial and security applications. And then we've gone into these first responders / terror and natural disaster situations. When are we going to see these things coming into the marketplace? What is your prediction?
Okay, our prediction is we're going to see these things starting to get into the market in 2 to 3 years, gaining a lot of momentum in the next 6 years, and be very, very common after 10 years. Very common. An average household is going to have a radar in it in 10 years.
So for our audience then, in the next 10 years, we are likely to see the following: the smart home to be equipped with devices that will measure our life vitals, and the cars being equipped with devices that will remotely measure our conditions and can alert the 911 or emergency services in case something happened. We're going to have the ability to save more lives during disasters. The military and the law enforcement forces will have better instruments for counterterrorism or also preventing smuggling in certain situations. So with that said, if you have further questions, please reach out to me. If you have additional suggestions, either comment here on the video or reach out to me. And for the time being, Nir and Guy, thank you so much for being here. It was a pleasure.